Alright, so today I'm doing a fuel pump replacement on my 318 John Deere. This is an Onan B43G. Earlier this last winter, the starter went out of it. So rather than pulling the entire motor, I tried to cheat and release it and just spin it up. And what I proceeded to do was bust the outlet for the fuel line off of my fuel pump. So that pretty much made the tractor inoperable. So what I did is I went and picked up an electric fuel pump, a Facet, which worked for a while. So, and of course, the pulse pump, the one I'm going to be putting in, goes right here. So today I went out to mow, and the only way this thing would run was on full choke, and then it still wanted to keep dying out, and you'd have to play with it and everything. So I started diagnosing it, and what I ended up finding out is I pulled the top of the carburetor off. This is a new carburetor, and when I looked, my float bowl is empty. So it's like, okay, I took, and this is my fuel line. I popped the fuel line loose. I replaced the filter. It's a brand new filter. Checked out the old filter. It wasn't dirty, but figured, you know what? Okay, I'll just put a new one in. And then I took this line and ran it into a jug and lots of fuel. Okay. So I figured, okay, maybe my needle valve or my needle and seat are dirty. Shouldn't stop fuel from flowing in. If anything, it should overflow and flood out. So I tore the top of the carburetor apart and realized that my fuel level was real low. It's like, okay. So I messed around and took and with the top of the carburetor off, turned the key on, got the electric pump working, and filled the fuel bowl up. Started the tractor up, ran beautiful, and then it died. It's like, okay. Took the top of the fuel bowl, carburetor off, and the fuel bowl is empty again. So basically what I'm figuring is this pump, while it will pump with unobstructed, it'll pump just fine, but it literally cannot overcome the pressure created by my float. So this pump is shot. So I picked up this as a direct replacement for this one. This is your vacuum port for your impulse. This would be inlet for coming out of the tank, and then, or no, sorry, this one is. And then it would, of course, come up through that one. So basically it'll come out of the tank into here, out of the tank into this one, and then this one will be the one I hook up to my carburetor. So anyway, what I've got done so far, I figure I wasn't going to show you the entire process. If you can't get your tractor to this point, you probably don't want to attempt to replace a fuel pump by yourself. I've got the hood off, the front grille, the side panels, and the battery tray. I've got everything pretty much released. All I got left is my ground cable, 4 bolts underneath. Now, what I did, I don't know how well, let me go over here. What I did is you got your drive shaft down here, and I just took the 4 bolts out of the drive shaft from the back of the crank. Now, I know that there are people who say, well, pull the drive shaft with the engine. Okay, fine. If you want to do it that way. I don't believe that there's a right or wrong way to do it. Personally, I prefer to pull the drive shaft. That way I'm not trying to line up the splines onto the transmission when I go to drop this motor back in. So I pull the bolts out of the drive shaft and leave the drive shaft with the tractor. You can do it either way. I also got to release my deck. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is, so basically now you've got 4 bolts. Of course, you got one here, front of the motor, one here, front of the motor on both sides of your PTO clutch. And then if you crawl underneath, I don't know how well I'll be able to see this, because of course I left my deck on, which I shouldn't have done, but then again the tractor wouldn't start. So basically there's a bolt there and there's a bolt on the other side of them lines. You can kind of see right there. That's the 4 bolts to hold your motor in. So pop them out, and then you can either strong arm that turkey out, or you can use the assistance of a lifting apparatus, which I will get to when I get ready to pull that out. So right now, I'm going to probably shut you off. I'm going to go ahead and drop them 4 bolts real quick. My ground cable, and the belt for the deck, and I'll come back as I start to lift it up. Alright, another little thing here, if you're doing this, don't do like me. Yes, I'm missing a wheel on the back of my mower deck, I realize. If you're going to do this also, if possible, pull this deck. Unfortunately, like I say, my tractor wasn't running. It's real nice to have the deck down. So if worse comes to worse, now this one I've done an H3 conversion, that's why there's 3 levers. I've also got 3-point, but what you can do is, not gonna sure. Now with my 3-point, I can basically pull my lever back, and I already got the deck all the, oh, there we go. Basically, I can release the pressure on there, step on my 3-point, and put my deck down. So now it releases my belt. Worst comes to worst, you could also probably come back to your rock shaft, put a pipe wrench or something on it. You'd probably have to have help if you had to do that. If your tractor's not running without the 3-point, you could probably put like a pipe wrench on there, have somebody hold your lever while you push down on the pipe wrench down here, and it would actually lower your deck without the tractor running. Anyway, let me go ahead and get them bolts out. I figure what the heck. I'll let you see the joys of me having fun here. So, that's 11/16 on the top for mine. 1/2 inch on the bottom. Probably going to be a little noisy. Bolt out. Yeah. Good thing to carry apart, tractor apart. A scrub bolt. Must not tighten up last time. I've had the motor out of this thing once or twice. I believe the ones underneath are 9/16. Alright, I'm back. Ground cable, which is on mine. I'm not going to say yours is going to be identical to this. There's still a little bit of gas in that line, but it's shut off over here. So. Hold on. Stay. Now. Should be able to go underneath to get these two. This does make it easier with air tools. You don't have to have them, of course. Just be quiet. Let me grab a extension. It's a little easier. Don't tend to run too many extensions on air tools. It's ratcheting them without that much force. Alright. Here's your somewhere. Right down on the ground now. Looks everything. Hardest part about getting down there is getting back up. Like I say, this is a lot easier to pull this motor without this deck on, but my deck is on, and I could take it off, but nah, where's the fun in that? Alright. Got it out. So, let's all hold that motor in. Now, what I like to do, start around a lot and say stuff about what I'd like to do now. And we'll go with it. Alright, move it back. Start you up to 3 inches. Go back a little. Good enough. Alright, rule number 1. If you're going to pull the motor out of a 318 John Deere, it's best to use an Alice Chalmers. Just kidding. It just holds my drain unit. Alright. You got a strap to a cross tie. Here strap, here strap. I forgot where my strap was. Doesn't work. So everything's out of the road. I'm probably staying in the road. That's how you make sure everything's out of the road, and then I'm in the road. Alright. And you take the dandy lifting device. And you pray it works. Now, one thing we can do, right, go like that. Make said lifting lifting device over said motor. And wait for things to break. Or wait to remember that you forgot to do things. Like take the starter cable loose. Don't forget to take your starter cable loose. What's worse, when you put it back together, don't forget to put it back on. Tractor won't start without. I never figured out why. Why it has to have juice to the starter for the starter to work. It should be one of them wireless starters. Get that down on the road. And sure not to rip your. Now, there we go. And we're just gonna man, that's motor out of the tractor. So now, if you're at the state, I just replaced the firewall insulation on this, so if you don't have good insulation, this would be a good time to replace it. Good time to clean stuff up. But on to motor. So now we will spin you on my handy dandy video tripod here. So now I should do. I don't really like working on that thing up in the air like that, because that thing falls. I mean, the motor is not extremely heavy, but it's heavy enough it's going to hurt if it falls on you. So you can do one of two things. I mean, you could get a bench to put it on, or you can put it back down on the ground. Come on, no. Alright, so now, can you see that at all, or does it? Oh yeah, you can see it. There we go. So now, we have to go through and take a bunch of the shielding off, of the tins off. And that's pretty clean. A bunch of these are 10 mil, but I think there are some from okay, so I got a 10 mil on the 1/4 inch hand ratchet. And then, of course, as is accustomed with any used piece of equipment, it's going to have eyeball bolts here and there that other people have put in. I may have put this in. It is what it is. Let's look it up. So, basically, we want to do what we can. We're going to release this back. This is kind of a bit of a job to kind of get this thing back together, if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, I took mine out. I didn't put it back in. So you're got to basically put the fuel pump on there, and then the there's some underneath. Don't want it to tip this motor too far, because I do have oil in it. Being I'm not really doing anything to affect the internals of the motor, I really don't want to change the oil on it. One thing I don't have another filter right at the moment. And I just changed it not too long ago. That off of there. You see what I'm doing? Probably not. I can't hardly see what I'm doing. So, you just gotta look all the way around this rear shroud and find all the bolts. There's, I think, 3 or 4 underneath the motor. So, that one out. Alright. So, now, you have the throttle return spring with governor, I think it is. Here, I'll get you down here. I left my vacuum line on the motor specifically because I figured I was eventually going to have to put this back together. So, I'll bring you down here now. So, this right here is your vacuum line. Goes back in there to the crankcase. I don't know how much goes around the oil. Pressure line goes back into the crankcase for vacuum. So, I'm going to put that on. So I'm going to put you back up here. I'll get my hand out of the road. So, like I say, I actually kind of figured I was going to put this tractor back to a vacuum pump. So I actually left the line on it. I could have capped it off with one of those lines. It wasn't going to make much difference one way or another. So now I also need to find 2 screws that will go in there. Which I'm wondering, I believe they were just Phillips. So I might have to go through my screws to find a screw that will fit in there. Anyway, I can go ahead and get this started. So this, so as I say, that's your vacuum port. Goes in there nicely. So now what do you want to do? Oh, get down here and creak and groan like any old man. And forget all the tools you need. If preferable, always forget the tools you need. Besides that, there. Screw them up right. Alright. Now, kind of gets to the fun part. I don't think what I do. Yeah, so basically, I'm going to have to stick the pump through there and get get it clamped on from behind the shroud. Which I would show you doing that, but there is absolutely no way that I can hold the pump. Well, I could screw the pump to the shroud, but I don't know that I'm going to do that. Show you me doing it. Let's see. Oh God! Try to get the bolt out of the line that I put in the line. Alright, the bolt is coming out of the line. Now, the big thing is, of course, I used the bolt in the line. Now I gotta make sure. Oh yeah. I had to make sure that the line had not been enlarged so much that it wasn't going to seal. Actually, I might continue using the old hose clamp here. It's going to be fun when I look at it. That line. This ought to be fun. Get all of this back up. Alright, let me see if I can find me some screws. Yeah, something pulled that one nice. Hey, Squeaker Joe! I didn't need a starter. It was a fuel pump.
Or fuel pump.
Yes. Yeah. Alright, so what we're going to do, we're going to take this here fuel pump, and we're going to attempt to screw it into the shroud.
What? You know what? If you want to send on one, we'll let you send on this one. Check it first. Okay, it's just there.
It should be fairly cool. It's white.
There you go.
Alright. So there.
Well, I would just double check it and make sure that I didn't
Now.
burn a little bottle.
Now comes the fun part.
Here.
Is getting all this stuff out of my way so I actually got room to work. Oh, goodness gracious. You move. You guys come over here. So now, I've got to figure out how. Oh, goodness. And now, I've got to figure out how. Get this line over far enough. That is going to be tight.
She got a chance to set up. That was enough. That's all she wanted.
Those their edges are sharp.
Huh?
I got a video camera going.
Oh.
Making a video.
You'd love to get there down there and help Daddy, wouldn't you? Okay, let's go back in the house. I don't want you to get too warm or too cold. Keep your foot looking for you, Daddy. About 44.
problem is, where? My needle nose though. I think I can reach it from there. Needle nose. Save my wrists. Like, cut that too. There we go. We're getting it. Fortunately, there is absolutely no way. I can barely feel up in there, let alone show you. Unfortunately, that's all the way out. Yeah, it just, you almost got to do it by feel to get that line on that. Here we see number one eyeball. Right, so now what I'm going to do, comes the fun part again. Put this hose clamp up here. So, pull the line off. We're making headway. Alright. Now, I just almost taken that thing. Alright. Now, think. I'll tighten them over here. Thank you. Alright, basically now, it's just a fun getting this little guy taken back on here. Just about there. Alright. So, what I've got. Come on down here. Alright, so I'm not sure where that video, if it cut off or whatnot. My phone, I'm videoing this on my phone and it just about completely died, so. But, anyway, that's where that connection has to go on for that fuel pump. So, while you were charging, I went ahead and just ran this fuel line off of it. So I'm going to go ahead and put the bolts back in it, which you saw me take them out, so reverse of is putting them back in. So I will get them put together and get ready to set the motor back in, and I will be back. Alright, so motor's done, fuel pump's on, she's hanging there. Now we'll get ready to dump her back in. And you'll go for a tumble. Try two. There we go. Back up now, she's kind of in there. Firewall kind of closed a little bit. Get starter on. Starter lead, whatever you want to call it. Applies the cable that goes to the starter that makes the tractor run. Yeah, that thing I'm going to put back on. Don't tighten them though. So there's usually just enough. You still got to move the motor around one beat backwards. And again, make sure you drop bits and pieces at least 2 or 3 times during reassembly, or else you're just not doing it right. There. Got this one, and where did my other bolt go? There. Now these, sometimes if you can do them by feel, it's a lot easier. Go. Those are started. While I'm right here, I'm going to go ahead and put this drive shaft back on. Do take the drive shaft off like I did. Make sure to start all your bolts again before you tighten them, because sometimes that drive shaft can spin just a smidgen on the flywheel and you won't get the last bolt lined up. One more. Oh. Now. I'll grab my noisy gun. I'll go ahead and tighten them drive shaft bolts. Super tight, but you got lock washers and all that stuff. You want to make sure they're tight. They're only 5/16 bolts, so on no whale cover on them, you'll break them off. wiring, stuff like that back together. And I'll bring you back when I actually start it. All right. So I was going to bring you back when I got the JD fired up after putting the fuel pump on. But as luck would have it, typically, it's actually up on my trailer. I've had it running, but testament to why not always it's the greatest idea to get cheap parts. So I've had it all back together. I end up having to resort to going back to an electric fuel pump. I got it all back together, got the engine in it as you saw. Went to put the fuel lines on and was literally just putting the clamp on them, and literally they both snapped off. So sometimes that's a testament to not using the cheapest of parts. The fuel pump, I think through John Deere, I think they listed at like 150 bucks. So I really wasn't interested in paying that much. So oh, now you don't want to focus. There you go. So I ended up going to Amazon, or I think actually eBay, and picked up a pump for 18 bucks. Yeah. Sometimes cheap parts are alright, sometimes they're not. This time they weren't. So I will at some point have to pull this thing all back apart and put another fuel pump in it. But for right now it's running. Bye.